This is MrChabry, and let me tell you a story of a poison-type gym leader. Not only was this a poison-type gym leader, but he eventually became a top member of Team Rocket. Our story follows a young man named Hemlock. Hemlock being a poisonous plant. And like many poisonous plants, they may look ordinary, but they hide something beneath. Hemlock grew up in less than ideal conditions. The house that he shared with his mother only had one bedroom, the bedroom that she decided that she would let him have, and as she was a single mother, she struggled to pay for many conveniences that people take for granted. But Hemlock knew that this was not going to be his lifestyle forever. He wanted a change, and he was willing to do whatever it took to have that change. Hemlock broke into Professor Oak's lab and found Bulbasaur, a grass-type Pokemon that hid poison, just as his namesake. As he was trying to flee, however, he was spotted by Detective Mo, one of the most world-renowned detectives in Kanto. And while Hemlock's very first Pokemon battle did not go ideal, he was able to escape after being defeated by Detective Mo's Charmander. Hemlock decided to add to his Pokemon team, so he captured the first Nidoran male that he came across. As Hemlock traveled Kanto as a wanted fugitive, he ended up trying to break into the Pewter City Gym, thinking that there must be something important in there. He ended up coming face to face with Brock, who challenged him to a battle in an effort to teach Hemlock a lesson before it was too late. Now, even though Hemlock at this point did not have that many Pokemon, and he wasn't really looking to become a world-renowned Pokemon trainer, the fact that he chose Bulbasaur ended up making this battle quick and easy. It's in Mount Moon that two important events unfold. Bulbasaur evolves into Ivysaur, and Hemlock comes face to face with Team Rocket for the first time. Now at this point, he doesn't actually join Team Rocket, he just passes through. Hemlock also beats up a nerd to steal a fossil from him that he doesn't even care about. In fact, as soon as he leaves the cave, he throws it into the bin. Once reaching Cerulean City, Hemlock is spotted by Misty, who then challenges him to a Pokemon battle. Hemlock, using Ivysaur, is easily able to take down the Staryu with a Vine Whip. Starmie, however, has a little bit more bulk. So with the combined efforts of Vine Whip and Leech Seed, eventually Ivysaur does defeat that Pokemon as well. After that, Hemlock decides to catch an Ekans. This will add another poison type to his team. Detective Mo gets word that Hemlock was spotted in Cerulean City, so he rushes over in order to try to intercept. Detective Mo leads off with Pidgeotto as Hemlock decides he's going to try to train his Ekans up. Ekans gets a few good wraps in, and then must switch out. Unfortunately, Nidoran male goes down to the two gusts, but Ivysaur comes out, sets up Leech Seed, and then starts wailing away with Tackle, and that's really all that Ivysaur has for flying types. But after a few Leech Seeds, the good thing is that Ivysaur does end up knocking out the Pidgeotto. Unfortunately, the health is kind of an issue. Abra comes out. Now, the Abra only knows Teleport, so this basically gives whoever is out here free experience. And as you can see, Ekans has Wrap. So it's not doing a lot, but it is doing something. And the main thing is that we just want to get this Ekans leveled up so that way it can actually do some work. Rattata comes out with an annoying Quick Attack. It does quite a bit of damage, but we finish it off with a Vine Whip. Next up is the Charmander, and we go ahead and heal up because I know that this thing might have Ember in the back, and I don't want it to use that. I don't remember if it does or not. It does. So I'm trying my best to get as much survivability as I can, and the Leech Seed is helping us out. We set up a wrap to lock this thing in, and Charmander goes down. Ekans gets some good experience. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it was fate. But after defeating Detective Mo, Hemlock comes across a rocket recruiter who saw the whole thing. Impressed, he asks whether Hemlock would like to join. At first, Hemlock is cautious. He says no, but after a few more prodding, he does decide to join. However, the rocket recruiter would like to battle Hemlock before giving him the green light. Now, it ends up starting off as a battle between Ekans and Ekans, and since Hemlock had some training with his Ekans at this point, it was faster and it was able to finish off the other Ekans with Wrap. Next up is Zubat, and Hemlock goes into his Nidoran Mail to get some experience on this thing, and it just takes 3 Horn Attack, and it takes it out. Not only that, but Nidoran actually evolves after this battle. And using a Moonstone, Hemlock evolves his Nidorino into a Nidoking. This transition marks the end of one chapter and the beginning of Hemlock's second chapter, from fugitive to operative. His first mission is to steal the TM-28 from this family, TM-28 being Dig, and he actually is able to teach this to Ekans right away. So he does. His next mission, he needs to infiltrate the SSN in order to steal the HM01 cut from the captain. It is upon this mission that he is also intercepted by Detective Mo, who had got word that Team Rocket was planning to do such an act. So at this point, Detective Mo leads off with his Pidgeotto, Nidoking is the lead for Hemlock, and with some well-placed horn attacks, Nidoking takes down Pidgeotto. Next up is Raticate, and Ivysaur is easily able to two-hit this thing with Vine Whip. Kadabra comes out, and Kadabra is a little bit more scary now, since it is Psychic type, and it can do quite a bit of damage to Poison types. It goes down, though, and Ivysaur is facing down the Charmeleon. This time, Ivysaur has a few more tricks up its sleeve, such as Leech Seed, but Ekans here also has Dig, so that's going to finish off the Charmeleon. After this, Hemlock makes his way into the captain's quarters and steals the HM01. As Hemlock tries to flee the city, Lieutenant Surge catches word that there was just a robbery on the ship that he has invested into, so he runs to try to stop the would-be robber. Ekans comes out and digs the Voltorb into oblivion. Pikachu comes out and also gets destroyed by Dig. Raichu comes out, and Raichu can take hits a little bit better, so we're going to go ahead and switch into Nidoking because Thunderbolt does do quite a bit. And with this switch, it seems like Raichu really cannot touch Nidoking. Easy victory. We next find our way into the Rock Tunnel, and it's here that Hemlock decides to add another Poison type to his team, that Poison type being Zubat. Now, we could have got Zubat back in Mount Moon, however, at this point, Zubat's going to have a little more tools, making it easier to train. Zubat also evolves into Golbat at this point, and then it is time for us to face Erica. Now, Erica using Grass type. A lot of our Pokemon also have the Poison type as well. So this Victory Bell, trying to use Poison Powder on our Ivysaur is not going to work out at all for her. Next up is Tangela. This thing does not have Poison type, but I want to get some more experience on Ekans, so we're going to bring it out, Wrap a few times, and we get caught in a bind once we try to switch into Nidoking. Now, we're going to go ahead and go for Poison Sting, hoping for a poison, because with Bind, we're going to have to wait out some turns, and I'm hoping to poison it. It ends up that we don't really need that. Vileplume comes out, and I do go for Leech Life. At this point in this generation, Bug is good for Poison and Grass, so that's actually 4 times effective that you're seeing there, and it's still not doing much. That's just how pitiful of an attack it is. Vileplume goes for some Mega Drains on us, and we're able to knock out the Vileplume with our Golbat. And then Ekans also evolves into Arbok too. While in Celadon, there's a call out to all Team Rocket members. We all need to head back into the Celadon City Game Quarter for an important meeting with the boss. So the mission this time is top secret. Only the best is going to get to know what this mission entails. So he wants to battle us to see if we pass the test. I'm going to lead off with a Golbat. I'm still trying to level that thing up, And Nidoking is my main go-to here because it has the Water Gun. Water Gun takes out Onix with one hit, and this time I go into Ivysaur with the Razor Leaf. Of course, I'm trying to get experience on Golbat while I do this. And Ivysaur actually goes down to the Kangaskhan once it defeats the Rhyhorn. Arbok comes out, and I'm going to try out Bide tactics. Don't really use Bide that much, and it ends up not working out. Now I'm going to go into Nidoking in order to try to knock out this Kangaskhan. And you can see this battle is getting really close. It's all up to Golbat now. I go for Confuse Ray, and I end up knocking this thing out with 2 bites. Now that I have passed the test, it's time to carry out this mission. This mission entails going into Lavender Tower and helping hold captive Mr. Fuji. So we go in, and it looks like Detective Mo is already on the case here. So we go in, and Pidgeotto goes for a quick attack on our Golbat. We eventually knock it out. Execute comes out and puts our Golbat to sleep, but it really only has Barrage, so it's not even a threat. And Leech Life is quad effective against Execute, so 2 of those will knock it out. We just have to wake up, and you see our luck is not really the best here. We finally do wake up, and we do knock out the Execute, but you can see that took quite a bit. Now we're going to go into Ivysaur to take on the Gyarados here, and it looks to be a 2-hit KO. Unfortunately, we missed the second one, but the third one does connect, knocking it out. Now that leaves the Kadabra. Now, I am nervous about this thing. I know this thing's going to become an issue for me. Luckily, it's not an issue right now. Bite knocks it out. And then Charmeleon comes out. We body slam this twice, knocking it out. We also catch a Ghastly in here. Now, Ghastly is a poison ghost type Pokemon. With these type challenges, I'm not going to do a ghost type gym leader challenge, only because there's only one ghost type in this. So we're going to count this as covering that ghost type niche. And our Ghastly evolves fairly quickly. We're going to have a beautiful ghost type to add to our poison type gym leader challenge. So like I said, the mission tells us guarding Mr. Fuji, who is held captive here at the top floor of Lavender Tower. Unfortunately for Hemlock, it seems that waiting around guarding Mr. Fuji wasn't enough for the other Rocket Grunts, so they one by one ended up leaving the mission. However, Hemlock realized what the mission was for. It was to take the Pokeflute from Mr. Fuji, so Hemlock decided to do that himself. Hemlock also uses his opportunity to fully evolve his Haunter into Gengar. He also steals HMO2 from a woman who's just trying to chill in her own house. The weird thing is that Golbat actually does not learn Fly. So that means Hemlock has no use for this HM, so it's into the bin. Eventually Ivysaur finally evolves into Venusaur. Once Hemlock reaches Fuchsia City, he learns that there's already a poison-type gym leader. In fact, his name is Koga. So Hemlock decides he's going to challenge him for the title of poison-type gym leader. So that is what he does. He leads off with Venusaur, sets up a Leech Seed on the lead Coughing, and then goes into Gengar, who at this point knows the move Psychic, so that completely destroys Coughing. Now Muck has a little bit better special, but Muck wastes its time going for poison-type moves. I don't know if it has anything else, but Psychic will just cut it right through. Coughing comes out, and with a Thunderbolt and a Psychic, that's enough. Psychic would have been a one-shot anyway. And then Weezing. Now the thing is, Weezing cannot go for self-destruct because Gengar is immune to it, so Weezing goes for Toxic instead. Easy knockout. Hemlock is now the Poison-type gym leader. It's at this moment that Hemlock decides he can be more than just a Team Rocket minion. He can shoot for the top. He can take Giovanni's position. It'll take some planning, take some work, but Hemlock can do it. Hemlock decides to round out the rest of his team and to replace some members that he decided aren't quite cutting it anymore. Some Pokemon that he's going to add to his team are more in line with Team Rocket's vision. These Pokemon include Tentacool, who evolves into Tentacruel. It also involves a Grimer and a Coughing. Now, Coughing evolves into Wheezing not long after. With this team, Hemlock is ready to take his position at the top of the food chain. The next step in Hemlock's plan is to get the remaining gym badges. So he's going to take on Blaine next and lead off with Wheezing. Now, Wheezing sets up the Toxic, and Growlithe wastes a turn going for Agility. Now, that is some Gen 1 mechanics where it looks at the typing, not actually if it's going to do anything. So since Agility is Psychic, it goes for that. Grimer comes out. I really would love to evolve this Grimer. And then I go into Gengar because Gengar has good special, plus it's immune to Stomp. So it's just great. We're going to go for a Confuse Ray as we see that Psychic's not really doing that much. But after it hits itself in Confusion, 2 Thunderbolts is all that it takes. Next up is Rapidash. And with the Rapidash, I'm going to go back into Grimer just for the experience. And then we go into Wheezing for the Toxic. We saw that Ponyta took a little bit to get through. Rapidash might take a little bit more. So we're going to go for some Sludges. And we see the Super Potion. But it's not going to matter because the Toxic is eventually going to stack and finish off the Rapidash. So, Rapidash a lot tougher than Ponyta, but still not enough. And you can see I've got Tentacruel. I'm not using it for this battle because it's already over-leveled from where I was using it before. Fire Blast does a lot of damage, and then I go for Confuse Ray, trying to get some hacks onto this. We get Paralysis, and we get super lucky with Paralysis and Confusion. As I make my way back to Saffron City, there is another call for all Team Rocket members. We are now infiltrating Silph Co. in an effort to get the Master Ball. This is perfect for Hemlock, because if he can be the one that gets the Master Ball instead of Giovanni, he can gain the admiration of all the lower grunts. It is here that Hemlock learns that Detective Mo is already here trying to prevent Team Rocket's plans. So Hemlock takes it upon himself to battle down his old rival. He leads off with Grimer just to get some experience on the thing, and then goes into Gengar, who Thunderbolts the Pidgeot into Oblivion. Thunderbolt's really great on Gengar. Gengar has really good special, which is great. Execute comes out and goes for Poison Gas with Grimer. It misses. So Hemlock decides to do some shenanigans with accuracy as well. So he goes for Minimize and just hits this thing a few times. As you can see, Pound's not doing much, but really want to get experience on Grimer because it's the only unevolved Pokemon on Hemlock's team at this point. Poison Gas, and then a switch into Gengar, and Dragon Rage does so much damage at this point. If we can get our HP up higher, we can take that hit a little bit better, but Dragon Rage is such a cool move like that. 50 damage every time. Gengar Thunderbolts finishes off the Gyarados, and now it's Alakazam. Now this thing's going to be a lot more of a problem because now it has Psychic moves. Tentacruel is really the best Pokemon to come in because it has such high special, but it's still not the best because Poison typing. Last up is Charizard, and the Grimer comes out just to do some shenanigans, and then a switch into Golbat to take the hit. We're going to try to go for a Confuse Ray too, which will confuse this thing. And a Double Edge, thinking that it might do the most damage. It does just enough, and with the Poison and the Confusion, it takes out the Charizard. After thwarting Detective Mo, Hemlock makes his way into the CEO's room. He sees that Giovanni is struggling to get the Master Ball away from the CEO, so Hemlock takes it upon himself to do it himself. However, Giovanni does not like that, so he sends out his Pokemon to battle Hemlock, to stop Hemlock. He sees what Hemlock is trying to do, put himself at the top of Team Rocket. Nidorino is not a challenge to Golbat. Golbat is able to knock that out. Kangaskhan, however, is a different can of worms. Grimer comes out mainly for the experience, and then you can see Sludge actually doing quite a bit of damage. That Rage, though, is going to be a problem because it raises the attack each time. Luckily, though, Grimer is able to take that out. Rhyhorn comes out, and at this point, Venusaur, we've seen it cut right through Rock Ground type so many times. Might as well just skip that Pokemon. Nidoqueen comes out. Now, Nidoqueen can do quite a few more things to us. We go into Tentacruel because it has the bulk and it has the surf. Giovanni goes down, humiliated in front of his grunts. And Hemlock does what Giovanni failed. He extracts the Master Ball from the CEO. Hemlock at this point only has 2 badges left. If he can do this, he can take Team Rocket out from Giovanni's nose. However, Sabrina is not going to be easy. Not only is she upset about what happened at Silphco, she is a Psychic type gym leader. Her lead Pokemon destroys Grimer with 1 hit. Venusaur comes out and luckily survives the Psychic and hits back with a Body Slam. Mr. Mime comes out. This thing loves to set up barrier and boost its defense, which we need to stop that. So we go for Confuse Ray, and it hits itself in confusion, which is nice. However, it does get that barrier. You can see how little damage Wing Attack did after that. Gengar comes out, and Thunderbolt finishes this thing off. Now, normally you would think, hey, Gengar, Ghost type, use Ghost type moves on these Psychic types. Lick is the only Ghost type move that does any sort of damage based on that. And in Gen 1, Ghost does not do any damage to Psychic. So, really garbage how Psychic was so great in Generation 1. Coughing does take off the Venomoth, which is really nice. However, now it is the Alakazam. I am terrified of this thing. You can see it just destroyed Gengar. Tentacruel comes out. I go for Surf. Luckily, it misses the Psy-Wave twice. That might have been what it needed to give us the win. And by hour 15, Grimer finally evolves into Muck. As Hemlock makes his way into Viridian City Gym, he is met by a surprise. Not only is Giovanni the boss of Team Rocket, but he's also the 8th gym leader. Meaning that if Hemlock defeats Giovanni here, not only does he get that gym badge, but he has wrestled away the title of Team Rocket boss from Giovanni. Let's go into this battle. So Giovanni, if you haven't noticed, uses ground types. That's kind of a problem for us because Poison is weak to ground. However, he doesn't really have that many good ground type moves. So we confuse the Rhyhorn and the Venusaur blows it away. Next up is Dugtrio. Dugtrio has Slash, it goes fast, has high crit chance. It goes for Sand Attack, which is unfortunate. But with a Razor Leaf, we finish off the Dugtrio. Nidoqueen comes out, and we decide we're going to just Razor Leaf the Nidoqueen. It actually takes that pretty well. You can see Poison Sting at this point, terrible moveset. Giovanni has terrible moves. He's the final challenge when it comes to badges, but he uses Poison Sting. Anyway, Venusaur takes down the Nidoqueen, and that leaves Nidoking coming out. And Nidoking is a great Pokemon. However, it is weak to Psychic. We've used it before. We've boxed it. And now we have boxed Giovanni's as well. Right on his final Pokemon. It's Rock Ground. So, we could have just skipped that. But with that, Hemlock is now the leader of Team Rocket. And at this point, Hemlock decides one last thing. It is now Team Rocket's time not only to operate with petty crime, but to take over all of Kanto. In order for this next plan to work, he has to take on the Elite Four, making him the champion of Kanto. Detective Mo catches wind of this plan and tries to intercept him before he makes it to Indigo Plateau. Gengar makes quick work of Pidgeot as Gengar levels up to 37. You can tell that our levels are a little bit lower, but I'm hoping that we can win this. Venusaur destroys Rhyhorn quickly. Execute comes out, and this time Sludge is going to do quite a bit of damage. Unfortunately, Stun Spore is not that great, but he wastes time going for Solar Beam, so we get the knockout. Gyarados comes out, and we Thunderbolt this thing into oblivion. Unfortunately, Hydro Pump does not miss, but it just takes 2 Thunderbolts, and we get the knockout. Now, I am terrified of this Alakazam, not going to lie. This thing can do quite a bit of damage to us. So I'll go for Razor Leaf. It does barely anything. Alakazam has high special. Reflect has just boosted its defense, so I'm going to Body Slam to paralyze it. Luckily, we knock this thing out before it actually does anything to us. That thing could have probably one-shotted my entire team. Charizard comes out and flamethrowers Gengar to knock it out. I go for Sludge, trying to get some sort of damage, and we get hit really hard I go for Minimize, trying to play the Shenanigans game. I poison this thing as well, and you can see that we are getting hit a few times, but hopefully we can win this stall out. And it looks like we do win it with the poison. But without further ado, it is time for Hemlock's final step of his plan to take hold. He has to make his way through the Elite Four. Dugong comes out and Gengar goes for a Thunderbolt, but you can see it doesn't really do that much. Luckily, the second one gives us a crit and knocks out the sleeping Dugong. Next up is Cloyster. This thing has terrible special, but it actually takes a Thunderbolt, which actually did surprise me. But it goes down with the second one. Next up is Slowbro, and I decide I'm going to switch into Venusaur because I don't want to play around too much with my Gengar. I could really use it. And we knock out the Slowbro with the second Razor Leaf. Jinx comes out, and with Jinx being part Psychic, I am kind of nervous. Plus it has high special, and it has Ice Punch. So I'll go for a Fire Blast. I do burn it, but it's not enough to knock it out. Ice Punch knocks out the Golbat in one hit, unfortunately, and Tentacruel really is my best bet against this thing. I should have went into this thing earlier, because Jinx really does struggle to take on this thing rather than my other Pokemon. So we're just going to surf this thing and knock it out. I don't remember if Jinx has Psychic moves, but it could have done a lot of damage to me if it did. Lapras is up next, and you can see Thunderbolt doesn't do that much damage. This thing is highly bulky. Don't like that a bit, but we do get a crit on the second one, and we unfortunately hit ourselves a few times. But we do knock it out eventually. Next up is Bruno. Bruno, being the fighting type Elite Four trainer, he kind of struggles with poison type, and not only that, he has 2 Onyx. I don't know why he has 2 Onyx, but Onyx goes down easily. Next up is Hitmonchan. This thing goes down to 1 Psychic. Next up is Hitmonlee. I do think Hitmonlee is better than Hitmonchan, but it still doesn't withstand a Psychic from Gengar. Next up is his last Onyx. Onyx, not even a threat, 1 shot. But what is a threat is his Machamp. Now Machamp might be able to take a Psychic, I'm pretty sure it will, and you see it does slightly more than half, but he wastes the turn going for X Defend. I actually checked the time at this point, and it turns out we are exactly at 17 hours on the dot. Next up is Agatha, who uses quote-unquote ghost types, but it's kind of like what I'm doing. I can say that this is a ghost type challenge as well, just because I'm using Gengar, but she uses all poison types. So poison is her main thing, even though ghost is what her title says. Anyway, we completely destroy the Golbat. Next up is this Gengar here, who puts us to sleep. Now, the problem with Agatha is she likes to put you to sleep and then go for Dream Eater. That wouldn't be a problem, but I am poison type, so it is a huge problem. Plus, me being poison type means I struggle to hit these ghost types as well. So I'm going to be put to sleep, and I'm going to switch around trying my best to not get hit by a Dream Eater. I go ahead and go for the Minimize, hoping that will protect me from Hypnosis, but I go down to the Nightshade. Go back to Golbat. We're going to go ahead and confuse this thing, playing some shenanigans, as Nightshade takes out Golbat as well. And I'm hoping that Gengar can wake up before we get hit with the Dream Eater. Nightshade doing a lot of damage, Dream Eater knocking us out. Tentacruel comes out, time to surf. We're not having any luck at all. We're being put to sleep. We're having our dreams eaten. We're hitting ourselves in confusion. I decide I do need to use an item. I usually don't use items, but you can see I'm having such poor luck that I need to. I'm going to go into my Gengar, go for a Psychic as she wastes her time switching around, which actually ends up playing out in our favor. She goes back into Haunter. She could have probably knocked us out, did a lot of damage, put us to sleep or something, but with that, she wastes her turn. I'm out of Psychics at this point, so I'm going to rely on Thunderbolt, as she just goes for Dream Eater on this thing, not actually doing anything for a few times, but Nightshade does do a lot of damage to me. I'm hoping that maybe I can get a Paralysis or something, and I go into Wheezing here, hoping that maybe I can wake this thing up, No, we're going to get knocked out, go to sleep. Anyway, Venusaur comes out. We hit ourselves in confusion. I'm wanting Leech Seed so I can get some more health. Luckily, we do finally hit that. And she wastes her time going for Toxic at this point. So she's confused herself. Toxic on a poison type. Lady, it does nothing. So we do finish Agatha's team. So out of the Elite Four, that leaves Lance. He is Dragon type, in quotations, but really Flying type. When you come here, think of him as Flying type. Anyway, he leads off with Gyarados, and we do a lot of damage with Thunderbolt. He heals up. We get a crit the second time, which is great. Dragonair comes out, and I have put Blizzard on Tentacruel just for this guy. We get the freeze on Dragonair, which really balances out the bad luck we had in the last battle. Blizzard on the second Dragonair, and he's going to waste his time going for agility because of that Generation 1 oversight. Aerodactyl comes out. I decide I'm going to Thunderbolt this thing because I might be able to paralyze it, but we end up one-shotting it, which is great. Last Dragon is out here. It's Dragonite. It's quad weak to Blizzard, but it still survives. We go ahead and Surf because I thought he wouldn't heal, but he does. And we don't quite knock it out, but a Mega Drain will finish this thing off. And as we work our way in through the Indigo Plateau, it turns out Detective Mo is waiting for us. And I'm not going to lie, the first time we faced Detective Mo, he actually did defeat me because I really didn't have much to answer his Pokemon. But luckily Hemlock was able to escape, and with this escape, it's time to try to train up so we can challenge Detective Mo again. But Hemlock is not going to give up. He started at humble beginnings, and now he's going to take all of Kanto for Team Rocket. It's time for the world to give him what he was owed. Tentacruel blizzards the Pidgeot, knocking it out, and Alakazam comes out. Now, Alakazam is the one Pokemon that's been giving us trouble. We do have growth on Venusaur, and my idea is that if I can get this thing special up enough, I can take these psychic hits better. Now, Razor Leaf isn't going to get the best outcome with growth because of that high crit chance, but if it doesn't crit, then we could probably one-shot a lot of things. That's a weird Generation 1 quirk. Boosting stats, if you get a crit, it undoes that. Now, Rhydon goes down with one hit, not even an issue, and Executor comes out. This thing also part psychic, it has hypnosis, it is a problem. We do go with some stomps, but we do have some full restores that we're going to throw at this thing. And you can see that we've got the Poke Flute here. And I'm going to play it because how unlucky we have been with these hypnosis is just blowing my mind. However, Gyarados comes out. We don't quite one-shot it because we get the crit, which doesn't account for our stat boost. But with our stat boost, we can take those hits a little bit better as special hits. And as you can see, Fire Blast crits us. So it basically ignores ours. But, you know, that's fine because we have Gengar here to go for some Thunderbolts. And with that, Detective Mo is finally defeated by Hemlock, and Hemlock has paved his way into not only taking over Team Rocket, but also allowing Team Rocket, under his leadership, to take over all of Kanto. So from humble beginnings to the top of the world. Hemlock is now going to make his way to Viridian City. That's where he's going to set up his gym. That way he has all the operation needs for Team Rocket. Now, some of you might be wondering if I would ever do a Ghost-type challenge.